Part 1: The Verdant Tomb. The jungle moon of 7 was trying to kill them. It had been trying for 3 years now, and Cole was starting to think it might finally succeed. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at his team. They were a sorry sight. Kite and Master, the team leader, had lost 2 of his 4 arms to a predator attack 6 months ago. The stumps had healed, but his pride had not. Crystalline Resonant, the scientist, had cracks running through her glass-like body from a fall last year. She moved slower now, more carefully. The others looked just as worn, just as defeated. They had come here searching for a legend. A living starship grown by the civilization over 10,000 years ago. The greatest treasure in the known galaxy. Every species in the Galactic Union had sent teams to find it. All had failed. And now, after 3 years of blood and loss, his team was ready to fail too. "We should return to base camp," said. His voice buzzed with exhaustion. "There is nothing here. There is a myth, a story told to children." Said nothing. He was looking at his scanner at a reading that made no sense. A canyon, 2 kilometers east. The geological survey had dismissed it as uninteresting, but scanner was picking up organic signatures, very old organic signatures. "I want to check one more location," said. His compound eyes turned toward him. There was no warmth in that gaze. There never had been. Was the only human on the team and had made it clear from the start that he considered humans to be primitives. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 200 years ago. They were bobbies compared to species like the Eye, who had sailed between stars for 50,000 years. "You are said. "You study plants. You are not qualified to make exploration decisions." "I know plants," replied calmly, "and my scanner is showing plant-based organic readings from that canyon. Very large, very old." "How old?" asked. Her crystal body chimed softly when she spoke. Checked his readings. 10,000 years, maybe older. The team went silent. 10,000 years. That was when the had vanished. That was when the had supposedly been lost. Stood still for a long moment. Then he clicked his remaining arms together in frustration. "Fine, one more search, but if we find nothing, we leave this cursed moon forever." The journey to the canyon took 4 hours. The jungle fought them every step of the way. Vines tried to strangle them. Insects the size of dogs tried to eat them. The air was so thick with moisture that breathing felt like drowning. But pushed forward, his eyes fixed on his scanner, watching the organic readings grow stronger. When they finally reached the canyon's edge, his heart stopped. It was there, hidden in the shadows, covered in moss and vines and still as stone. But it was there. A structure so massive that his mind struggled to understand it. Roots thicker than starship hulls. A trunk that rose up and up until it vanished into the mist. Branches that spread across the canyon like the arms of a sleeping giant. The forest vessel. The living ship that had carried thee across the stars. "By the ancient codes," whispered. Her crystal body rang with shock. "It is real." Was already moving, scrambling down into the canyon with a speed had never seen from him. The others followed. Went last, his legs shaking, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. Up close the ship was even more incredible. The bark was harder than any metal had ever touched. The roots had dug deep into the moon's crust, anchoring the vessel in place. Everything was lifeless, fossilized. But the shape was unmistakable. This was not a tree. This was a ship that had been grown, not built. A ship that had once been alive. Ran his remaining hands over the bark. His excitement faded quickly. "It is dead," he announced. "The biosigns are gone. The systems are dark. This is nothing but a husk, a corpse." "We still found it," said. "This discovery will make us famous. We will be remembered forever." "Famous for finding a dead body," replied bitterly. "The Galactic Union wanted a working ship, a weapon, a tool. This is useless." Barely heard them. He was walking along the base of the great trunk, his hand trailing across the ancient bark. The texture was strange, not like dead wood, more like sleeping skin, like something waiting to wake up. He stopped at a spot where the bark was slightly different, smoother, warmer. He did not know why, but he felt pulled to this place, called to it, like the ship was whispering to him in a language he could not hear but somehow understood. Dr. Cole called out, "Step away from the structure. We need to document everything before we touch it." Did not move. His hand hovered over the smooth patch of bark. His fingers trembled. Cole shouted, "That is an order." Pressed his palm against the bark. For a moment nothing happened. Then light exploded beneath his hand. Golden light, warm and alive, spreading outward from his touch like ripples in water. The bark began to change color, shifting from dead stone to living brown to vibrant green. The light raced up the trunk, along the branches, down into the roots. The team scrambled backward in terror. Stayed where he was, his hand still pressed against the bark, his eyes wide with wonder. Deep within the ship, something stirred. Systems that had slept for 10,000 years began to wake. Hearts that had stopped beating began to pulse again. A mind that had dreamed alone in the darkness opened its eyes. And it saw Cole. The human, the inheritor, the one it had been waiting for. It was awake, and it was hungry for the stars once more. Stared at the spreading light, his compound eyes reflecting the golden glow. His mandibles clicked in disbelief. "What," he whispered, "have you done?" Could not answer. He could feel the ship now. Feel its joy, its relief, its desperate hope. It had waited so long, so very long, and finally, after 10,000 years of dreaming, someone had come. Someone had come home. Part 2, The Awakening. The transformation took 3 hours. Watched it all, unable to look away, unable to move from the spot where his hand had first touched the bark. The death that had covered the peeled away like old skin. Beneath it, new bark emerged, rich brown and warm to the touch. Leaves sprouted from branches that had been bare for 10,000 years. Flowers bloomed in colors that had no names for. The air filled with a sweet smell, like honey mixed with rain. And the ship grew. It pulled itself from the canyon floor, roots lifting from the earth like the legs of some massive creature waking from sleep. It stretched upward, expanding, reaching toward the sky. What had seemed huge before now became truly enormous, 1 kilometer long, then 2, then 3. A ship the size of a small city, alive and growing and beautiful beyond words. Had ordered the team to retreat to a safe distance. They stood on the canyon rim, watching, recording, too shocked to speak. Only remained below, standing in the shadow of the awakening giant. When the growth finally stopped, a door opened. It was not like any door had seen before. The bark simply parted, creating a passage into the ship's interior. Golden light spilled out, warm and welcoming. Felt a pull in his chest, a gentle tug that seemed to come from the light itself. He walked inside. The interior of was a cathedral of living wood. The walls breathed slowly, expanding and contracting like the sides of a sleeping animal. Bioluminescent veins ran through everything, providing soft light that seemed to respond to his presence. When he walked forward, the veins grew brighter. When he stopped, they dimmed. The ship was watching him, learning him, welcoming him. Wandered through corridors that twisted and turned in ways that should have been confusing but somehow were not. He always knew where he was going, even though he had never been here before. The ship was guiding him, leading him somewhere important. Behind him he heard footsteps, and had followed him inside. Their voices echoed through the living halls. "This is impossible," said. His voice was quiet now, all the anger gone, replaced by awe. "The biosignatures are off our scales. This ship is more alive than most living creatures." "It is beautiful," whispered. Her crystal body caught the golden light and scattered it in rainbow patterns. "I have studied artifacts for 200 years. Nothing compared to this. Nothing came close." Said nothing. He kept walking, following the pull in his chest, until he reached a vast chamber at the ship's center. The heart room. It was circular, easily 100 meters across. The walls were covered in roots that pulsed with slow, steady rhythm. In the center of the room, floating in a column of golden light, was a seed. But this was no ordinary seed. It was the size of a human head, covered in delicate patterns that seemed to shift and move when looked at them. It glowed from within, but the glow was weak, flickering, dying. The ship's heart said. She had run her scans and her voice was full of concern. It is failing. The last of its energy reserves to wake up. Without more power, it will die. Stepped closer to the seed. He could feel its exhaustion, its pain. It had waited so long. It had given everything just to open its eyes one more time, and now it had nothing left. Why did it wake up? Demanded. Why now? Why for him? A voice answered, not out loud but directly in their minds, ancient and gentle and tired beyond measure. Because he is the one we WAITED-FOR. The air in the chamber shimmered and an image appeared. A hologram, generated by technology so advanced it looked like magic. It showed a figure that had only seen in history books. And tall and slender, with bark-like skin and eyes that glowed like amber. Beautiful and alien and impossibly sad. I am Memory Keeper, the hologram said. I recorded this message 10,000 years ago in the final days of our civilization. If you are seeing this, then the has found an inheritor at last. The hologram turned to look directly at. You carry the spark of growth, the bioelectric signature that allows you to bond with our living technology. We searched the galaxy for beings who possess this spark. We found none, but we believed that somewhere, sometime, such beings would evolve. So we built to wait, to sleep until the inheritors arrived. Why humans? Interrupted. Humans are one of the youngest species in the galaxy. They are primitive, undeveloped. Why would they choose them? The hologram smiled sadly. We did not choose. The universe chooses. The spark of growth is rare. It requires a species with strong life energy, high adaptability, and the will to survive against all odds. We possessed it. We hoped others would too. The hologram's eyes found again. It seems our hope was not misplaced. Stepped forward. Memory Keeper, the ship is dying, its heart is failing. How do we save it? The heart needs life energy, the hologram replied. It needs the spark. An inheritor must give freely of themselves, share their energy with the seed, let their life flow into the ship. The hologram began to fade. But be warned, the bond once formed cannot be broken. The ship and the inheritor become one. Their lives are tied together forever. The hologram vanished. The chamber fell silent. Looked at with something that might have been concern. You cannot seriously be considering this. You do not know what it will do to you. You could die. Stared at the flickering seed. He thought about his life before this. His quiet work, his small discoveries, his dreams of finding something that mattered. This mattered. The waited 10,000 years, said softly. They had faith that someone would come, that someone would be willing to give. He pulled a knife from his belt. Before anyone could stop him, he cut a deep line across his palm. Blood welled up, red and warm. No, cried, but was already moving. He pressed his bleeding hand against the dying seed, and the world turned to light. Energy poured out of him. His life, his strength, his very essence flowing into the seed like water into dry earth. The pain was incredible. He felt himself being emptied, drained, reduced to nothing. And then the seed began to pulse. Stronger, faster, brighter. The glow spread outward, filling the chamber, racing through the ship's veins. The screamed with joy, a sound that rang through the minds of everyone aboard. It was alive, truly alive, reborn. Collapsed to the floor, empty and exhausted. The last thing he heard before darkness took him was the ship's voice in his mind, warm with gratitude and love. Thank you, MY Captain, MY Bonded, MY Friend, sleep now, I will keep you safe. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the began to rise. Part 3, The Spark of Growth. dreamed of stars. He floated through space, but he was not alone. He could feel the all around him, holding him, protecting him like a mother holds a child. Its mind touched his mind. Its memories became his memories. And through those memories saw the truth of what had happened 10,000 years ago. There had been a great civilization. They had grown cities from seeds, sailed between stars on ships of living wood, and lived in harmony with the natural universe. They believed that all life was connected, that the spark of existence that burned in every creature was the same spark that burned in the stars themselves. They had been beautiful, they had been wise, they had been kind. And they had been destroyed. Saw it happen, a plague that appeared from nowhere, spreading through the population like fire through dry grass. It attacked their bioelectric signatures, the very thing that made them special. Their living cities died. Their grown ships fell from the sky. Billions perished in months. They never found out who created the plague, some enemy from beyond known space, some ancient evil that hated life itself. They called it the Hollow because that was what it left behind. Hollow worlds, hollow ships, hollow bodies with the life sucked out of them. In their final days, they built thee and its sister ships. 47 vessels designed to sleep, to wait, to preserve the legacy until beings with compatible biosignatures evolved somewhere in the galaxy. They scattered these ships across known space and hid them well. Then they died, all of them, every last one, leaving only their sleeping ships behind. For 10,000 years they had dreamed alone in the darkness, waiting, hopping, praying that someone would come. And then had touched it. He woke up. The first thing he saw was concerned face hovering above him. Her crystal body chimed with relief when his eyes opened. "He is awake," she announced. 3 days unconscious, but he is awake. Sat up slowly. His body felt strange, stronger than before but also different, like something inside him had changed at a fundamental level. "What happened?" he asked. "You bonded with the ship," answered. That was standing nearby, his remaining arms crossed over his chest. "They accepted you as its captain. It's bonded. You are now connected to it at a biological level." He paused. "I still do not understand why it chose a human." Looked down at his hand. The cut he had made was gone. Not healed, but gone completely, leaving no scar behind. He could feel the ship around him now, feel it the way he felt his own heartbeat. There was happy, content, like a loyal pet that had finally found its master. "No, not a pet, a partner and equal. That has shown me things," said. "Memories from the, I know why humans carry the spark of growth." He stood up and walked to a wall. At his mental command, the bark parted, revealing a window. Outside, he could see the jungle moon falling away beneath them. They had lifted off. They were in space. "Human cellular biology is unique," explained. "Our cells have unusually high regeneration potential. Our bioelectric fields are strong and stable, and our species has an extraordinary will to survive. We adapt, we overcome, we refuse to die." He turned to face the others. They saw this potential when they looked at the galaxy's future. They knew that someday a species like us would evolve, a species with the same spark that burned in them. "But we were still living in caves 10,000 years ago," said. "How could they have known about humans?" "They did not know about us specifically. They simply had faith that life would find a way, that somewhere the universe would create beings capable of carrying their legacy forward." Made a disgusted sound. "Faith, how unscientific." "And yet here we are," replied. "Here I am, bonded to a ship that has been waiting for 10,000 years. The faith was rewarded." A soft chime rang through the ship, closed his eyes and listened. That was speaking to him, sharing information directly with his mind. "We have company," he said. "A Galactic Union fleet is approaching, 12 ships, they want to talk." His antenna twitched nervously. "That was fast. I sent a report about our discovery before we entered the ship. I did not expect such a large response." reached out with his new senses, touching the minds of those on the approaching ships. What he found there made his heart sink. Fear, greed, suspicion. The Union was not sending a welcome party. They were sending a containment force. They are afraid, said. The is too powerful. They want to take control of it, study it, use it as a weapon. Can you blame them? Asked. A living ship from the most advanced civilization in history. Every government in the galaxy would want it. A communication request came through. Accepted it, and a holographic image appeared in the air before them. A admiral in full military dress, her face hard and cold. I am Admiral of the Dominion Coalition, she announced. You are ordered to stand down and prepare for boarding. The artifact you have discovered is now property of the Galactic Union. Resistance will be met with lethal force. Felt this reaction to these words. Anger, indignation. The ship was not property, it was not a thing to be owned, it was alive, it was free. With respect, Admiral said calmly, thee is not an artifact, it is a living being, and it has chosen me as its captain. We will not surrender. Admiral's eyes narrowed. You are one human on a ship you do not understand. We have 12 vessels armed with weapons capable of destroying moons. Do not test us. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. Admiral, they were the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. Do you really think they built their greatest ship without defenses? He sent a thought to the ship responded instantly, joyfully, eager to show what it could do. Outside, the living vessel began to transform. New structures grew from its hull in seconds. Branches became weapons. Bark became armor. The ship that had seemed like a beautiful tree now looked like a beautiful fortress, bristling with power that made the Union fleet look like children's toys. Admiral went pale. We do not want war, said. We want peace, but we will defend ourselves if we must. Stand down, Admiral, let us pass. There is work to be done, and humanity has waited long enough to begin. The Admiral stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, her fleet began to move aside. Watch them go, his heart pounding with excitement and fear. The hummed with satisfaction in his mind. Well done, MY Captain, well done. The stars waited ahead, and Cole, the human who had awakened a legend, was ready to meet them. Part 4, Rebirth and Revelation. 1 month had passed since the standoff with Admiral. Stood on the bridge of the looking out at the stars through a window of living crystal. The bridge was not like anything found on normal ships. There were no chairs, no consoles, no screens. Instead, the room was a garden. Trees and flowers and soft grass, all of it connected to the ship's systems, all of it responding to his thoughts. He was learning to use his bond with the. It was not easy. The ship was vast and complex with systems that human science could not even name, but day by day grew more comfortable, more confident, more connected. He was not alone. Had stayed with him, fascinated by the technology. She spent her days studying the ship's biology, recording everything she learned. Her research would change galactic science forever. Had also stayed, though he pretended it was only for scientific reasons. Knew better. The old was curious. He wanted to see what would happen next. He wanted to be part of history. And then there was. She had arrived 2 weeks ago, answering a call that had not consciously sent. Was a human engineer from Earth's outer colonies, a brilliant woman who had always felt like she did not belong anywhere. When they had awakened, she had felt something. A pull, a whisper in her mind. She had traveled across half the galaxy to find the source of that whisper. She had the spark just like. That had shown something important in the days after his bonding. A star map buried deep in the ship's memories. 47 points of light scattered across known space. The other sleeping vessels. The other ships that they had built in their final days. Each one needed an inheritor. Each one needed a human to wake it up. Had sent out a quiet call through channels he did not fully understand. Not a message in words, but something deeper. A feeling, an invitation, and humans had begun to respond. They did not know why they felt the pull. They did not understand what was calling them. But they came anyway, following instincts they could not name, seeking something their souls remembered but their minds had forgotten. Was the first to arrive, she would not be the last. Today they had reached their destination, an asteroid field in an empty sector of space, far from any colony or trade route. According to this memories, one of its sister ships slept here. The smaller than the, built for speed rather than power. I can feel it, said. She stood beside, her eyes wide with wonder. It is calling to me, just like the called to you. Nodded, go to it, wake it up, become its captain. A shuttle had grown from this hull during the night, shaped perfectly for its body. She climbed inside, and the living vessel carried her down into the asteroid field. Watched through the senses as she found a dormant structure of wood and sleeping vines, hidden in the shadow of a massive rock. Pressed her hand against its bark. Light exploded outward just as it had for 1 month ago. The awakened, smaller than the but no less beautiful. In minutes, it rose from the asteroid field, reborn and alive with as its bonded captain. 2 ships, said, her crystal body chiming with excitement. 2 of the legendary vessels, awake and flying. This is beyond anything I ever dreamed. Smiled, but his joy was shadowed by concern, because they had shown him something else, something terrible. The star map did not only show sleeping ships, it also showed a darkness, a stain that spread across one sector of the galaxy like a disease that had given this darkness a name. The Hollow, the enemy that had killed the builders of the plague. They were still out there, hiding in the galactic rim, waiting in the darkness between stars. For 10,000 years they had been silent. But when they awakened, when its life energy blazed across the galaxy like a beacon, the Hollow had noticed. They were coming. Had not told the others yet. He did not want to spread fear before they were ready, but they could sense them now. Dark ships moving through the void, drawn by the light of the awakened vessels. 3 days after bonded with the first scout arrived. It appeared without warning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of a ship like nothing had ever seen. It was made of dead metal, black and cold, but wrapped in stolen organic parts. Living tissue fused to lifeless hull, eyes that had once belonged to creatures, now staring blindly into space, veins that pumped stolen blood through stolen hearts. The Hollow ship was a corpse given motion, a mockery of life, a predator that consumed life energy the way a fire consumes wood. What is that thing? Demanded, his voice filled with horror. The enemy, replied, the ones who killed the Hollow ship attacked without communication, without warning. Beams of dark energy lashed out at striking its hull, and screamed. The hollow weapons did not burn or explode. They drained. Could feel the life being sucked out of pulled away like water down a drain. The ship cried out in pain, its leaves wilting, its light dimming. We have to fight back. His voice came through the communication link. They had moved to help, but the Hollow ship was fast, dodging between them, continuing its attack. Gritted his teeth and reached deep into his bond with He could feel the ship dying around him, feel its systems failing, feel its hope fading. No. He would not let this happen, not after everything they had been through, not after 10,000 years of waiting. Poured his own energy into his life force, his spark, everything he had. The ship drank it eagerly, desperately, and something incredible happened. They began to chain. The areas touched by the hollow weapons transformed. New bark grew over the damaged sections, different from before, harder, resistant. The draining effect stopped. The life energy stayed where it belonged. They had adapted. It had learned from the attack. It had developed immunity. And through their bond, it shared that immunity with Both ships blazed with new light. The Hollow scout tried to flee, but it was too slow now. They reached out with branches that had become weapons, and the enemy ship was torn apart in seconds. Silence filled the space where the battle had been. Slumped against a tree on the bridge, exhausted but alive, the hummed with gratitude in his mind. "What just happened?" asked. "How did you do that?" "Humans adapt," said weakly. "We overcome. We refuse to die. They saw that in us. They knew that if anyone could fight the hollow, it would be beings who never give up." He looked out at the stars. "The enemy is coming, more of them, many more, but we will be ready." He thought of the 45 ships still sleeping across the galaxy. 45 more chances. 45 more inheritors waiting to be found. "We need to wake the others," said. "We need to build a fleet. The Hollow destroyed the greatest civilization the galaxy has ever known, but they have never faced humanity." He stood up straight, drawing strength from this love. "They have no idea what is coming for them." Part 5: The Inheritors Rise. 6 months had passed since the first Hollow Scout appeared. Stood in the heart chamber of the, surrounded by holographic images of ships and stars. The star map had changed dramatically since his awakening. Where once there had been 47 sleeping points of light, now there were only 15. The rest had awakened, each one bonded to a human inheritor, each one now part of the growing fleet. 32 living ships, 32 human captains, a force that the galaxy had never seen before and would never forget. They called themselves the Reborn Fleet. They called their captains the Inheritors, and they called their enemy what they had called them 10,000 years ago, the Hollow. The war had already begun. Hollow ships had been appearing more frequently, testing the fleet's defenses, probing for weaknesses. Each attack was defeated, but each attack was larger than the last. The enemy was gathering strength somewhere beyond the galactic rim, preparing for a full invasion. But the Inheritors were preparing too. "Status report," said. His face appeared in the air beside him. She commanded the now, leading a squadron of 7 ships that specialized in speed and reconnaissance. "We found another sleeping vessel in the nebula. A human colonist from the nearby station felt the call. She bonded with it this morning. That makes 33. His face appeared next. She had become the fleet's chief scientist, studying every piece of technology they recovered. "Our adaptation abilities continue to improve. Each time the Hollow attacks, we learn more about their draining weapons. Our immunity is nearly complete now. Soon, their main weapon will be useless against us." Even had found a place in the new order. He had become an unlikely ambassador, using his connections with the Galactic Union to build support for the fleet. "The Union is scared," he reported. "They do not trust humans. They think you are becoming too powerful, but they are more scared of the Hollow. I have convinced 12 civilizations to provide resources and support. More will follow." Nodded. "Good. We will need all the help we can get." He looked at the star map, at the dark stain that had grown larger over the past 6 months. The Hollow were not hiding anymore. They were advancing, consuming everything in their path. Entire systems had gone dark. Billions of lives extinguished like candles in a storm. The Reborn Fleet was humanity's answer to that darkness, but knew it might not be enough. A chime rang through the ship. That was alerting him to something. Closed his eyes and reached out through his bond, and what he found made his blood run cold. A Hollow armada had appeared at the edge of known space. 200 ships, the largest force the enemy had ever gathered. They were heading toward the heart of the galaxy, toward the most populated systems, toward Earth itself. "All ships," said, his voice carried instantly to every inheritor in the fleet. "The enemy is here. This is not a raid. This is not a test. This is the invasion. Everything we have done, everything we have prepared for comes down to this moment." 32 voices responded. 32 captains ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. Each one human. Each one burning with the spark of growth. The fleet gathered at the edge of the system, positioned between the Hollow armada and the populated worlds beyond. 33 living ships against 200 dead ones. The numbers were not good, but numbers had never mattered as much to humans as to other species. Looked out at his fleet. Ships of every size, from the massive to tiny scout vessels grown just days ago, each one unique, each one alive, each one bonded to a human who had answered a call they could not explain. They built these ships because they believed in us, said. They waited 10,000 years because they had faith that beings would come who could fight the darkness. They chose us, all of humanity across all of time and space. They looked at the universe and said, these people will not give up. These people will not surrender. These people will adapt and overcome and survive. He paused, feeling this love flowing through him. The Hollow think we are young. They think we are weak. They think they can consume us the way they consumed the. His voice hardened. They are wrong. They were great, but they were peaceful. They did not know how to fight. We do. Humanity was born in struggle. We climbed out of the mud and reached for the stars because we refused to accept our limits. We are stubborn. We are persistent. We do not know when to quit. The Hollow Armada approached. 200 ships of dead metal and stolen flesh, radiating hunger and hate. Today, said, we teach them why that is a problem. The battle began. It was chaos from the first moment. Hollow weapons fired in all directions, draining beams that sought out life energy wherever they could find it. But the reborn fleet had adapted. The beams struck living hulls and did nothing. The immunity that had discovered 6 months ago had been shared, refined, perfected. The enemy's greatest weapon was useless. The Hollow had other weapons, of course. Missiles made of compressed darkness, ramming attacks that tried to physically tear the living ships apart. And always, they tried to board, to get inside the vessels and drain them from within. But the inheritors were ready. Ships fought in ways that no artificial vessel could match. They healed damage as fast as it occurred. They grew new weapons in the middle of battle. They communicated through bonds that were faster than any radio signal, coordinating attacks with perfect precision. And the humans themselves were terrifying. Led charge after charge, the tearing through enemy lines like a force of nature. Squadron danced around the edges of the battle, striking weak points and vanishing before the enemy could respond. New captains who had bonded just weeks ago fought with the fury of veterans, their ships responding to their emotions like extensions of their bodies. The Hollow had never faced anything like this. They were used to prey that fled, that surrendered, that died easily. Humans did none of those things. Hours passed. The Hollow Armada shrank, 100 ships, 50, 20, 10. When the last enemy vessel was destroyed, silence fell over the battlefield. The reborn fleet floated among the debris of their enemies, wounded but alive, victorious. Slumped in this heart chamber, more exhausted than he had ever been, but he was smiling. We did it, the whispered in his mind. We won. This was just the beginning, replied. There will be more battles. The Hollow will not stop. He looked at the star map. 15 ships still slept across the galaxy. 15 more inheritors waiting to be found. And beyond the galactic rim, in the darkness where the Hollow made their home, something vast and terrible still waited. But humanity had proven itself today. They had done what they could not. They had fought the darkness and won. Thought about what the future might hold. More battles, more losses, but also more victories. More humans discovering their spark. More ships awakening to join the fleet. They had believed in humanity. They had planted seeds of hope across the galaxy and waited 10,000 years for them to bloom. Now finally, their faith was being rewarded. Closed his eyes and let this love wash over him. We are the inheritors, he said softly, and we are just getting started. Outside the window, the stars blazed with light, and somewhere among them, 15 points of light pulsed gently, waiting for the humans who would wake them. Waiting for the inheritors to rise.